Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. Tonight, we've got some foreshadowing, I think, happening in the industry. Reportedly, due to really low sales of physical games, several European retailers are reportedly no longer stocking physical Xbox games. That is to me foreshadowing the future. Like foreshadowing the next gen console release, in my opinion, if this is already happening. So, according to GameIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring, who said on the Game Industry Microcast that he heard that sales of physical games for the console are so low that the retailers have decided to stop stocking the products. That is insane, but it makes sense, right? Xbox is kind of turning into a digital console. Even Microsoft has said you don't need an Xbox to play our games, right? With their whole streaming service and everything like that. And, from what I understand, and I don't know what is true or not, because in the retail marketing, I don't know what the markup is. But from my understanding, like the sales of physical game, the margin is quite often very small. Digital, like if you buy something from Steam or somebody like that, or if you buy a non-Microsoft game in their Microsoft ecosystem, I understand it's like 30%, right? They take 30% off the top. So if you sell a game for $70, they take 30% of that, with you having to do very minimal besides hosting the game on your marketplace and then, hosting the game and putting a storefront in for it. What are you really doing? You're storing it, storage space and digital's frontage space, which is not much. And you get 30%. Almost seems like a racket, but it is what it is. And developers and publishers are willing to pay for it. And Microsoft, the rumor, I guess it's not really rumors, but the next PlayStation Slim and the Xbox are going to be full digital only consoles. Now, Sony did say they're going to come out with a pluggable disc. So if you want to buy discs for the mid-gen bump, if you will, then they'll have something for that. Microsoft, I haven't heard that they were doing anything like that. But I'm pretty sure it's set in stone that their mid-gen bump is a digital only console. So that is going to be interesting to me, but not at all unforetold, right? It's not unseen. We all foresaw that it was coming along, foreseen that it was coming along. I think there was some information that was out due that the AAA games on Xbox are like 80% of them are digital sales. So that's not surprising, right? Because I don't buy anything physical on the Xbox unless it's a steelbook that I really want, right? And I would probably say 60% of that, I can blame 60% of that on Game Share, right? If I didn't have Game Share, how likely am I still go to buy a physical game? I don't know. Like I buy all my PlayStation and Switch games physical, because PlayStation Game Share is kind of garbage, and Nintendo doesn't really have any concept of that. So, so I might, but I buy a lot more Xbox games, and would I be a lot more perturbed of having to go up to GameStop every time, to do this? I don't know. Maybe get me out of the house more often since I work from home. But we contribute to that 80% number on Xbox. The whole group of us do, because I don't remember the last Xbox physical game that I really honestly bought that wasn't for a steelbook. And it's been a while since I bought a steelbook game on the Xbox. Which I just think this is indicative of how the next gen consoles will be for everybody except Nintendo. I think Nintendo's still talking about having the cart with theirs. So you'll still be able to have that nice collection of Nintendo games, but I'm thinking about this of like being in the future, right? Like I can look back over the last 30, 40 years of gaming, and just images of gaming in my eyes have always been like the bookshelf full of games, right? And then now as things have gone digital, my bookshelf has gotten smaller, but I started to like want to do more retro collection, right? And now what I can see is happening is that there's just going to be a massive bump in the retro market of people buying games, and prices are going to go up because you can't display your money. So my brain kind of works weird like that. Like at some point I go, how much have I spent on something that I actually don't have a physical ownership of, something I can put in my hand? Like I don't want to look at how much I spend a year on games that I don't have a physical item to put in my hand. Like as much digital games as I buy these days, it's just, I don't even want to think about it sometimes. But you don't have that display anymore, you know? You'll never know, because being a kid and an adult, and you go over to a new friend's house and you're wondering, are they gamers? That was easy to tell. You go in their room and you see the console and you see a bunch of crap. Now, if you go to a gamer's house, you'll be like, they have a console peeking around or hiding around somewhere, because they don't have a bookshelf of games because everything's bought digital, you know? It'll be an interesting time in the next 10 to 20 years on the gaming industry, because you won't have that. Or will there be a lot more market for those niche companies that do physical game sales where there really isn't one? I can't remember the one that does that, but there's a big one, I think, out of like Japan that does it all the time, and a few others that they actually do physical releases of games that don't have a physical release, because they do like cool little concept art cases and things. That might be kind of cool. I can't remember any of their names, but Nick probably does.
Yeah, like Limited Run, or I Love 8-Bit or something like that, I think is the other one.
There's quite a few of them out there that'll do runs of not physical release games, and they'll make a run of them, or they'll partner with that developer and publisher to do something like that for those people who want it. It's usually a very limited run, and it is sometimes expensive. So, yeah, I guess everybody's going to need to get CD burners again and put them on your shelf so you can have a disc or something on your shelf or something. I don't know. We need to come up with, I've got the next business adventure for us, Nick. It's a digital game library bookshelf that's just a display and layout of a bookshelf that you could just list your games. So you just have like a visual look at what your games are.
See, that would be cool, because then you would do like, it downloads like the cover art for it, and then you could just go through there and you can add your games, and then you can just flip through it. Like it's like basically like a screen.
Yeah.
And you could just put it up on your wall like a picture frame, and then you just flip through it and you can add new games to it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's your library right there, right?
Yeah, it connects to the internet, so it can download the cover art for the game. You just put the game in, it downloads the cover art, it has a synopsis of the game from like Wiki or whatever the hell, you know, or from the game's official website. Screenshots of the game, so you can
all in like
remember
a gaming shelf, and you can make it. Yeah, there you go.
Shit. Let's cancel this recording. I think we came up with
So what do you think, Nick, about these European retailers that are no longer selling physical Xbox games, and how long do you think it's going to be before that happens here in the US?
I mean, I think it's already starting to happen, right? We did talk about how Best Buy and Walmart, you know, those, you know, and some people might be like, oh, why are you talking about Best Buy and Walmart? Well, those are like two of the biggest box store retailers out there, you know, especially in the United States, right? You have places like GameStop and who's not going to stop doing that, at least for now. But other than that, you know, and you know, some like locally owned places and stuff. But other than that, those are the, you know, more than likely, I would say most people probably buy their games, most gamers out there or casual gamers or whatever, probably if they buy them physical, they're probably buying them from either Amazon, or if it's a local box store, it's either Target, Walmart, or Best Buy or something like that, right? Or maybe Kmart, if Kmart's still around, or Sears, you know, or Montgomery Ward's in your area. Maybe you're buying it from there. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense as to why they would stop. For Xbox, you know, partially for me, it's like, yes, GameShare does in a big way stop me from buying physical, because me and Shane GameShare, and so if he buys a game, I get it, vice versa. So it's like, I don't feel at any point, why would I buy a physical game or a physical version of that game on Xbox? Because I want, you know, that's a free game for my buddy that I'm game sharing with. I'm going to buy just the digital copy, then he gets one. Even if he plays it or doesn't play, it doesn't matter. I want him to have a copy too, because we have this option, right? PlayStation has a similar thing, but PlayStation's game share doesn't work as well as Xbox's. Me and Chain have tried it before, but it's very finicky. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we just don't do it on there. And for PlayStation, I buy physical pretty much all the time. I do buy digital games on there occasionally, but those are games that don't have a physical release. And then Switch, I buy all physical. Only digital games I buy on the Switch are just ones that don't have a physical release. So, but even with that out of the way, for some reason in my head, and I don't know why this is, but even for Xbox, I don't feel like, as much as I like Xbox and enjoy my Xbox series, I don't feel like having physical copies of Xbox games. I don't know why. I have some of the older, I do have some series ones, but I do have some, but not a lot. And so I feel like, I don't know, for some reason, I feel like I don't want to collect for that. I don't want to have those on my shelf. I don't know if it's maybe because I've just bought digital for Xbox for so long, or, I don't know what the case is for that. I do feel that way for PlayStation. Like, there's been games that I've been wanting from PlayStation, and they've been on sale several times. I'll give you one example. Fate Samurai Remnant, I think is what it's called, from the Fate series, the newest one. That game digitally on PlayStation has been on sale 1 billion times. The physical version has not been on sale at all. And I have skipped over the digital version of it being on sale several times because I want a physical copy of it. And I'm just waiting for that physical copy to be on sale, a good sale where I can go pick it up. So, and I did that for a lot of PlayStation games where the digital version was on sale quite a bit, and I didn't want that. I wanted the physical version. Same for Switch. So, but I mean, as far as UK retailers, for Xbox, I don't know. I think Xbox is really, they've been wanting to do this for quite a while. And I think they're just trying to slowly, with Game Pass, with their streaming services and stuff, they're trying to push it towards the digital future. And so is PlayStation. And so we're not seeing that with PlayStation right now because PlayStation is outselling Xbox, as far as consoles go. So, I mean, this article just talks about Xbox being off the store shelves. But you will, with the PlayStation Slim that just came out, which they're replacing all the PlayStation Fats, the big ones, the originals, with the Slims. Those don't have disk drives. Those have the optional disk drive. So this phasing out of physical PlayStation games from the store is going to happen at some point. I would say within the next probably 2 years is when we're really going to see a phasing out of physical media for games, not for the Switch. I think Nintendo will continue to Nintendo does their own thing. They don't follow trends. So they'll continue to make cartridges or whatever for their Switches, for the Switch 2. If they continue with the SD cards, they'll continue with that with the Switch 2. I feel like that. But Microsoft and Sony have already made steps in the direction of a digital future, especially with Sony with the new PlayStation 5 Slim. Now, having a disk drive, it does have an optional disk drive that you have to buy separately, but it does not come with a disk drive. And they're replacing the big original PS5s with those Slims. They are basically not selling the big ones anymore. Like once they're out of, retailers have bought them all, Slims is all you can get, right? And then how in stock are they going to keep the disk drives, right? You might be able to go get a Slim, but the disk drive might be kind of like, it's always out of stock on Sony's website and I can never find one in store, right? And so, Sony's slowly but surely trying to push people towards that because it makes sense, right? Sony doesn't want to have to, they want to keep people within their ecosystem, right? And how do you do that? Especially they've done it with, game cards outside of PlayStation, right? You can't go and buy, you can buy currency, but you can't go and buy a digital code for a game for PlayStation unless you go onto the PlayStation Store. So they've gotten rid of that, right? Now what they need to do is they need to kill off the physical sales of their games so that people buy from the store, right? It all goes into Sony's pocket. And so Microsoft wants to do the same thing. And as a business standpoint, it makes sense, right? For a consumer, it sucks, but from the business standpoint, it makes sense that they want you to stay within their ecosystem and buy from them and collect everything from them. But I mean, that's just where it's going. There's a lot of I mean, I don't know. I mean, luckily with Xbox, you can buy codes for games, but is there going to be a day when Xbox stops that like Sony is? I don't know. I don't think so, because Xbox is trying to make it everybody can play our games anywhere, everywhere, over here, over there. They've even talked about rumors of Xbox putting some of their games on Nintendo and PlayStation. I don't think they would fully go that route, because I think they still want to have some people buying their boxes and stuff, but I feel like I have a feeling that Nintendo, or for Microsoft, I think the way they're looking at things, probably for the future, is we pretty much have our stuff everywhere. Like Game Pass is on PlayStation, right? Essentially. Now, that may or may not happen, but a lot of our games are on PlayStation or whatever the case may be. And I even heard rumors that even PlayStation, probably not Nintendo, but even PlayStation was thinking of the same thing, right? And that could be the case. So if it came down to that, it would be just exclusives on those consoles. Or if the exclusives were everywhere, if the game, God of War came out and it was on Xbox and PlayStation, right? I mean, it would just be preference at that point. That would basically determine the console war, right? Because there wouldn't be a war anymore. It'd be just like, I mean, I guess there would be. What's your favorite console? What's your favorite ecosystem, right? And then you would only have to buy one console, but then essentially one will dominate, even though that happens now. But the competitiveness may drop if something like that happened. I don't know. What do you think about all that stuff?
So what do you think? So here's something to think about. So right now, you touched on it. You can only buy PlayStation games on the PlayStation Store. When there's no longer physical media, you can only ever buy a PlayStation game on the PlayStation Store. To me, how is Sony going to get around that being an illegal monopolization? If you want to put a game on our console, you can't get it anywhere but from us. So what happens after that a year or two after that goes by, and they decide we want a 60-40 split where we'll take 40% of your markup, 40% of the cost of the game instead of the 30 or whatever they're charging now. They could do that because there's no competition at that point. You can't go release. I guess you could say I'm only going to Microsoft at that point, but as we know, there are way more PlayStations in the market than there are Xboxes. So that would be a developer shooting themselves in the foot, in my opinion. But I would think that would bring a lawsuit about, right? If Sony comes out, I mean, it better well damn bring out a lawsuit, because if Sony sells only digital and PS6 comes out as a PS6 and Xbox quadrillion and one comes out with digital only consoles, to me, Sony now has a monopoly on where their games can be bought from, because there's no retailers anymore, and you can't import a CD key from, Joe Schmo's web front that's selling them at a bulk discount or something. Like I can go to CD Keys or wherever and bring them into Xbox or even bring them into Steam and all that stuff. That almost seems like an illegal monopoly. I know there's some lawsuits going around right now about that, but because of the physical copies, it's really not, because the argument is you could just go buy a physical copy unless you bought the digital only PS5, but you knew what you were getting into when you did that. What do you think about that? I mean,
I'm sure the Sony lawyers have thought of this. I don't know how they would get around it. I would assume
that's why the disk drive is available. That's why the disk drive is available, because it's like, oh, you can still buy physical media. You just need to go buy the disk drive that's never in stock for $50 or the cost of a new game.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is they would probably continue to, I mean, retailers might get rid of, I mean, if you're saying if retailers and online stores, no more physical media at all. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe selling it on the other consoles. You can buy it. They can make the excuse if they put their games everywhere, that you can buy it anywhere you want. So we're not really monopolizing.
Except for those exclusives, right?
Except for those exclusives, right? But that's just,
that's okay. Everybody loves it, right? Yeah. Because digital sales don't keep up with, like, right now I could go buy a used game for next to nothing. And oftentimes you can buy new games after they've been out for a while at a huge steep discount so they can get them off the store shelves,
Yeah.
Not to mention, like, if you go online for keys, you can technically get those dirt cheap for most games on Xbox and Steam after they've been out for a couple of years or even a year sometimes. So,
yeah.
More to come, I guess. We will see what PlayStation. I mean, we know what the mid-gen bump is going to look like already, but let's see when the next gen is going to look like. Was we going to have any physical media discs? I mean, if the UK retailer stuff spills over to the US and other territories, I doubt Xbox will see a need to put out a physical disc machine. Or, as Nick said, or anybody said, they'll probably go streaming only console, which then I'll gag and kick it down the road and go somewhere else, I guess. I don't know. But so, you got anything else on this one? Because it's sad. I'm talking myself into a sad state.
No, but I mean, get ready for it is all I'd say, because it is coming. We've talked about it before. The writing's on the wall. One of these days it will be here.
Nobody to blame but ourselves. All right. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Do you think that the next gen of consoles, they won't even have a disc purchase option? And what do you think about the PlayStation Store being the only place you can buy a PlayStation game, so they control the entirety of the ecosystem and their stranglehold on that they have now? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And if you're not subscribed, you've reached the end. Come on, subscribe. Help us out here. We need that help. Hit those numbers. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.